We have a tool, the most utilized tool for us in Sex and Love Co., which is the brains in the business. Yes, I'm that sex chick, but we have a whole team of people that are therapists, counselors, various coaches, sexuality educators that work with us.
Yes, you have a huge umbrella.
Yeah. So our most utilized tool is something called, I'll put that over there. It's something called a want, will, won't list, and this is one of them.
Oh my gosh.
So
take us through it.
I actually have want, will, won't list. We're getting ready to upgrade this to include even more information, but already it's over 300 questions. So if you were to take a tool like this and sit at the table or wherever with your person, and each of you has one, and you go through it, and it asks you, what do you want? What will you do? What won't you do?
Okay, so that's the receiver. Okay.
Yes, and then you have the giver, want, will, and won't. In the middle is the activity. And then all kinds of body parts.
Okay. Yep.
Right.
Can I just read some of these here? So this is her worksheet, want, will, won't list, a map to your most sexual desires. Oh my gosh, Alexa, this is like amazing.
Yeah. So where you don't know, if you don't know where to start here.
This is amazing. And abdomen, anus, breast, back, butt cheeks, ears, face, fingers, inner thighs, neck, nipples, penis, perineum, scalp, skin, testicles, toes, vulva. Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So it starts pretty PG.
Okay.
With kissing.
Yeah.
And then as you continue flipping through the many pages.
Oh, wow.
The activities pick up the pace a bit.
Okay. Let me just read a couple of these. So the activities are blown or breathed on. So the receiver want, will, or won't. So you check
a box.
You check one box. So I want to be blown on or breathed on, right?
Yeah.
Or the giver.
For people who like energetic kind of play, to be hovered over or to be blown on or breathed on can be really
stimulating.
Almost more stimulating. For some people, that's more stimulating as far as sensation goes. For their body than actually being touched.
Yeah, because Ajit and I just finished, binge watched the Love, Sex, and Goop.
Yep. And so then you know about the erotic blueprints, which is a big part of what we do as well. Like we like for everyone to speak with their erotic blueprints in mind.
Oh my goodness. Okay. So in ear, in mouth, on abdomen, on anus, on breasts,
through the same.
On butt cheeks, on inner thighs, on neck, on nipples, on penis, on testicles, on toes, on vulva. Oh my goodness.
So.
Hair grooming.
Yes.
Massage. Okay, so the same body parts. Massage with feet and toes. I feel like these are some of the things, we never got this.
No.
You know what I mean?
My gosh, and I will never use the Pythagorean theorem ever.
Seriously, can you actually teach this to sex education? Because one of the things that and I know a lot of moms are watching this too, who are like, I'm so scared that my kid is gonna find out about porn first before they know how to even please a woman or even know what to do with that kind of information. Instead of knowing the sensuality of what it means to have pleasure and fulfillment. Yeah.
They will find porn before that. They will find porn before you, as the parent, think that they are ready or feel that they are ready. In a lot of ways they will.
No, the woman is not going to just go for the plumber who comes over during the day. No, she's not going to just spread her legs thinking any man, the milkman's going to come and bend her over. It's just not, it doesn't happen that way.
No.
So I wish we could have these conversations, because tickling, smelling.
I think the best thing a parent can do is to figure out how they feel about this information and feel about their own sexuality and take the reins. Because if you are not an embodied, meaning you don't have the knowledge and the understanding, at least on some level of this information, then it's going to be really challenging to have these kinds of conversations with your kids from a really grounded place where they can feel in your energy. And this is all speculation, because I haven't gone through the process with a kid yet, but I have traded some of my private client sessions to do sessions with their children. So, which is kind of incredible.
Amazing.
Those are cool parents.
Yeah. Super cool parents.
Yeah.
So, okay. Is this a can we get hands on this
Yeah.
checklist? Is this a free checklist
It
that
is.
you give out? Oh
Yep.
my gosh, where?
It sure is.
Okay.
So
we'll put it in the show notes.
yeah,
obviously.
at That Sex Chick on Instagram, my link tree has free resources. They're all there. So
You guys, this is next level for a relationship. This is next level for... This is like a fun exercise, even on a date night. I think Anjana and I are going to totally do this.
You can have that one.
Yes.
I mean, you can have that one and maybe print another one. You can do it together, or you can do it separately. I typically have my couples do them separately so that they can just be with themselves and not make choices based off of what they think, these preconceived notions or assumptions that they, are placing, or projections based off of what they think that they know about a long-term relationship or a few-year relationship. So say, go do this separately, come back together and have a conversation.
Okay, so what happens after we fill this out?
So first off, I want to clarify just quickly, want, will, and won't. If you want it, you consider it and you're like, yes, I want that.
Okay.
Full body, yes, please. The context is all, yes. The context is all right, yes. Will is you will do it if your partner wants it. Not a maybe. If we can avoid the maybe category where you're like, maybe I could like that, maybe I could like that. It's a no for now. If your partner really wants it, there's over 300 questions. There's so much you can explore.
This is a lot. This is like 20 pages or something.
Yeah. I think it's maybe 18.
Okay.
So you're close.
Okay.
So the will, there's so much to explore. Let's stay away from the maybe, just the consideration of maybe, because there's so much that you and your partner are going to align with that are in the want category. And then you can do something, you can play a fun game. So we have something in our programs called you make a sex recipe where you take your wants, you take a couple from yours as the giver and a couple from yours as the receiver and a couple from, let's say, Bowditch from the giver and the receiver. And you make a recipe, which is like what you're going to do that night or that day.
Okay.
So
during the day, yeah.
During the day, during the nighttime, I mean, there is also this kind of misconception that because of movies and TV that sex happens at night, when in reality, the sex drive hormone is testosterone and it's the lowest in the evening.
Oh.
So, afternoon delight and morning sex, they're a thing because that's when your testosterone's at the highest for both men and women.
Oh, okay. Morning sex. Yeah, totally.
Yeah. People do it at night because they need kids to go to sleep and they need all of that.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
So, and I know because you have a whole team of people. So can you tell us because for general folks, they may not know that, hey, penetration is not the only way to get off. Yeah. And can you take us through the blueprint that you have discovered?
As far as how people can get off without
penetration.
Without penetration.
Because it seems like you're opening us up to other ways of like the differences of, like a sensual versus somebody that likes, BDSM or kink.
And I think when you go through something like a want, will, won't list and you start getting curious about your sexuality and your partner's sexuality, and start to give yourself permission to get more information and get more knowledge, because it also was kind of hard to really create something where you're like, I don't really know what I would like. And that's a challenge for some people. So it started with something like the what, won't list, and realize that this is something that, interestingly, even though it's a very adult thing that we're doing, you can infuse your childlike innocence into it and curiosity and play. This is a time where adults get to play and do the thing that only adults do. So.
And I feel it reignites the spice in the relationship. For sure. And allows like a different way of approaching sex that can be, a little bit mundane if you only have like 20 minutes because the kids are in bed, or you're just like, you don't want to do it, or I've heard this from friends where they do sex like, once a week or twice a month or something like that, but it's like the same missionary style.
Like lights off Tuesday,
clothes on, or whatever the case. Like, it's not sexy. And you're kind of showing people that, hey, there's many different ways, and it doesn't even have to be penetration, because most women don't even get off on that.
For sure. I mean, well, most orgasms that are happening for women are happening clitorally, and even if they're being penetrated, it's still requiring engaging the clitoris. And I mean, you can create turn on and anticipation in so many ways. And I think that it's kind of a disservice to our relationships and our sexuality to just go, hey, do you want to have sex tonight? And some, that has a place in relationships too. Maintenance sex is what we, more or less call it, maintenance sex or quickies or something like that. Like those are great too. But relying on spontaneous or relying on only the regimented once a week it's challenging, and it becomes, very boring for some people. And for some women, without the element of excitement and novelty, they simply would rather not have sex.
Right. And there's like no notion of like that turn on.
Yeah.
And I see there is a photo of the clitoris. So it seems like we're gonna dive into some clit education. Oh my gosh, these are full photos, you guys. I'm getting a full sex education. Why didn't I learn this in school? Did not ever see a photo of the clitoris.
This is another thing.
Ever.
That more or less falls into what you were asking about having sex, and it's not necessarily all, revolving around penetration. For a lot of people, sex ends when the penis ejaculates, when there's so much more to explore.
That is that should not even be the case. I feel like the new relationship should be around understanding the clitoris, because most of female orgasms will happen.
Yeah, the vast majority. And the clitoris gets just as large as the penis does whenever it's fully aroused and erect.
Oh, no
And
way.
just because a penis is hard doesn't mean the penis wielder is fully aroused. Just because it's erect doesn't mean the body attached to it and the penis itself is at max arousal. So usually it takes 15 to 20 minutes. Doesn't mean of stimulation or boring like kind of foreplay, but just stimulation. And the greatest sex organ you have in your body is your brain. So that brings really back around to, creating environments, your person and you, frankly, are worth having these experiences. So I think like one big message that I have and our whole company has is take responsibility. Just like for me, I go to the gym, I have my certain things that I do to take care of myself. And this is a component that I've now put as a priority. This also, my sexuality also deserves me to take, I deserve that, to give that to myself. And my partner does too, to take responsibility for my growth and my development there. Instead of passing that blame or being a victim onto my partner, like, you just don't know how to touch me. You don't
know. Like they're supposed to figure it out. They're supposed to read your mind.
Yeah.
Instead of taking ownership and say, well, this is what I like.
Yeah.
But the only way to really know what you like is to take one of these quizzes, like basically a full checklist.
Yeah.
And not only that, but just because this is so in depth, but also, so take us through how would you use these photos here?
I mean, in an environment like this, or if I'm hosting a workshop or I'm facilitating in some way, or, I have group facilitation on Zoom. And really, I mean, the two pictures that I was just holding up, one is the clitoris at rest and one is the clitoris fully erect.
Oh, now I can see the difference.
She is shaped kind of like a wishbone with bulbs underneath. And so every part of it winds up swelling. So if we think about it, and I'll bring out Gloria. I'll bring out Gloria. So
vulva here.
Yeah. So she's my Wonders vulva puppet, but this little nub here is the only thing we see.
Okay.
Right? So you are looking at the vulva. The vagina is actually the canal.
Right.
So the vagina is here, right, is the hole. The clitoris is here, and all of this outside, inner and outer labia.
So that's the right.
This is vulva.
That's the vulva. So we don't just have a vagina. We have a vulva, you guys.
Yes, it's a vulva. The canal is the vagina, and then
so it's not the correct anatomical part that everyone talks about.
No.
I'm talking about the vulva.
No. And then and you have the two holes are the urethra where you urinate, and then, of course, where sex happens.
Wait, what's this? What's this flower?
So that's the urethra.
Oh.
And then inside the vaginal canal, they've marked the area that's typically referred to as the G spot.
Okay. Which one, the lower one?
This one here.
Okay.
And really, it's the clitoral urethral vaginal complex. They're changing it more or less to be called the CUV, which is a little less sexy, but G spot's named after a man. So we're calling it what it is. But anyway, back to the clitoris. There's only a little tiny piece that's exposed. And most people they grow up and they learn, like, maybe it's young men and they're like, they see porn and it's like, just go there and just like rub it really fast. And it's kind of like, the way you made a face.
Right.
It was like,
no,
no,
don't do that. Please don't do that.
Really
Please don't do that.
My like main piece for anyone that thinks like that is just slow down.
Yeah, please
slow everything down.
What you watch on porn is not how you should please a woman.
No. So the little piece that you see is the glands of the clitoris, and I think I have a 3D structure.
Oh my goodness.
In my bag too.
I love this. We just might have to put the entire episode up on YouTube because you have so many toys.
I have to take out a couple of the toys in order to get to the
Okay.
Well, you can hold these floggers.
Okay, the floggers. Woo.
Okay. My favorite sex toy of all sex toys is right here.
This one?
No, this one.
Okay, your blindfolds. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
We use a lot of blindfolding. Mm-hmm.
That one
is
almost like a weapon.
Okay.
It's called the Enjoy.
That looks like a brass knuckles, but like...
I know.
Yeah.
So here's what I was originally looking for.
Oh.
This.
Okay.
Okay.
That looks like a toy that my kids would probably play with as a dinosaur.
Right.
It's like a dinosaur or something.
So I call it the clitosaurus.
The clitoris.
Because
it does look like a dinosaur.
Like it, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So
like a flying dinosaur.
This little piece here is all that's exposed.
Oh, wow.
All of this is underneath all of this.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So when people say that they are experiencing pleasure via penetration, the back of the structure of the clitoris is being stimulated. So this whole thing has more nerve endings than the entire penis does.
Oh my God.
Like 8,000+ nerve endings.
Wow.
In this little structure. And it swells.
Okay. This part swells.
The whole thing.
Oh, wow.
When it fills with blood and it engorges, it becomes erect, which is the other. So all of the lips, the vulva, the whole thing becomes erect. And fills with blood.
Okay.
Or the clitoris becomes erect and everything else becomes flush. And so you have at rest, and then you have engorged. Wow. So when you have a vulva and a vagina that is engorged like that, that's ready for penetration. Does that mean it usually on average takes up to 20 minutes? But do we all have? People. But do we have 20 minutes?
Right.
Does it mean that the sex that I had 7 minutes or less because we both have calls coming up, but we want to connect?
Right.
Does it mean that we shouldn't do that? No, that has that place.
Sure.
But the quality of my orgasm, the more I'm turned on, and the closer I am to that, the bigger, the more I feel it, the longer it lasts, the more expansive it feels. Because I've also taken the time.
Right.
So there's just lots of flavors to the sex. So. There you have it.
Wow.
Right.
Wow. And so in knowing what you will and what you won't, then you and your partner can start playing around with that. And it could be like a gentle nudge for your partner, ladies, be able to have that conversation with your man to say, well, what are you curious in doing for me and not?
Right. Because there's a lot of things on that list that do not involve penetration that will get the vagina and the vulva ready. And in the meantime, while he's doing that, if this is, a heterosexual relationship, in the meantime, while he's doing that, he's also continuing to flood his genital area, his root chakra, sacral chakra with presence and blood and flow. And so there's also a build and arousal there. And because there isn't immediate penetration, chances are with that stimulation taking a little bit of time, he'll also be able to last longer if that's something that you want.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So.
And of course, you teach like breath work. And...
I do. I could talk about this subject ad nauseum forever, which is how I wound up doing what I
mean, it's so exciting. It's so exciting. And okay, so what are the difference between these floggers? And how would one use this if they were trying to spice up their bedroom? Yeah,
and I mean, really considering the original question too that you had about ways that you can get into, a sexy space. People often will see these BDSM tools and think that people are trying to hurt each other.
Right.
Or that it's people who've experienced trauma just re-traumatizing themselves.
Right, which it's not even the case.
No, and I mean, maybe that's the case for some people. But the vast majority is lots of communication, lots of time and space, and consent. So, and that's the big piece. And so for a lot of people, when they find healing through something like this, imagine they were physically abused when they were growing up. They didn't have agency. They didn't have a choice. But in sex and in this dynamic, they can choose. and they can transmute it into pleasure. They choose the situation. They create the container and the environment.
Have the control.
And they have a person who's willing to meet them in that. And that's really, really big.
And that's huge.
It's really big.
That's so powerful.
There's so much, energy moves really fast in sex. And DS, because of the sensation, it moves, you know, just as fast, if not faster, I would say. The nervous system's very engaged. So I've had...
When two people have that intentionality.
Yeah. So we created, we held a container over the course of a weekend here in Austin not that long ago with a dominatrix friend of ours.
So fun.
And I wanted to create this dynamic so that this environment so that we could be Jordan and I could be students to a degree. And at one point, you know, Jordan is a very vanilla. He was when we met.
No
I was
way.
this like kinky little New Orleans vampire, and he's this beautiful sunshine California vanilla serial monogamous frat boy.
Okay. Oh boy.
And so us coming together has definitely gone through its ups and downs and challenges, because here I am as this like sex person.
Yes.
And he knows we're together, like we have to be together. Like he was, I love our story, but it's very challenging for him.
Yeah, well, it's so fascinating because I see you guys online, and how do you feel like putting everything out there, out in the open about the things that you're doing together? And you guys are you're so open about your sexual experiences, and obviously you're using it as a teaching tool, but how does that actually feel?
I think it feels good for both of us. We started being very upfront, open about our relationship from the get-go. And so it feels like our community and our followers and people online, they feel like family at times. And we've just gotten so much positive feedback. So we continue to do it. And there are times when things happen where I'm going to hold it close for a little while and then I'll share it. You know? And so we have grace with each other. And there are times where he goes to share something or maybe a picture or something. And I go, I didn't know that I wasn't okay with that until you shared that. And now I'm not okay with it. And he'll immediately, no questions asked, take it down and then have a conversation with me. What's going on? So it happens.
Okay. I love that you guys are very open in that, and even exploring, like, I don't know how I'm going to feel about this, but maybe afterwards I kind of don't actually want it to be public as of right now.
Yeah. Consent, it needs to be, to be fully consensual, freely given, and reversible. Like I was okay with this yesterday or a couple weeks ago, and now I've decided that I'm not okay with it. Or I said yes to sex and we're about to do it, and then all of a sudden I'm like, this isn't right, something's not right. Or we're in the middle of doing the thing that I asked for, and all of a sudden I'm not okay. Reversible. And I mean, even Jordan and I, and at some point I will share it and I'll write about it, but we've had an experience where the word we use is endured.
Okay.
I endured, like I let it happen because I wanted him to have his pleasure, and I wasn't fully into it, but I still let it happen. And unfortunately that isn't trustworthy of me. And so, and he, afterwards, we had a big process, because I wound up crying after, kind of almost out of nowhere.
Oh, wow.
I was like, wow, I abandoned myself. And so I teach this, and I'm very, very much a student.
Right.
And we both are.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah. I love how you're embracing the vulnerability in being the expert, but also being the student. And I feel like that's so, like, putting the ego aside and just really embracing, hey, I'm still going to be and act in curiosity, in exploration. And also, yes, I'm so passionate about this work, but I'm also the student as well. And I'm just exploring just like you.
Yeah.
So cool. I love that.
Do you want me to finish do you want me to tell you anything about those?
Yes, please. Why are they different textures and feels, and one looks like tire cleaner or something like
they're
that?
all vegan.
Okay.
So they're not, I do have real leather ones with this whole set.
Okay.
Jordan actually found on Etsy.
Oh, no way.
And they were all vegan. It was really cool. So, and he got these after we had this event that I was mentioning, and forever the students. And I'd experienced some DS play and relationships before Jordan, and I had lots of challenges with bringing that to him and explaining some of those things to him. And we've been together 4 years, and it took our first maybe 2 years for him to really start to understand that it's not about the spank the spanking. It's not about the flogger. It's not about the item. It's about the energy that is required and the presence that's required from both parties in order to create an environment where that's hot. And that's intangible. It's hard to describe it and explain it, but he's getting it, I think, more and more. So at that event, I wound up on a spanking bench.
Oh my goodness.
And
okay.
Kimmy,
something that you would find at Burning Man.
Yeah, basically, which we have been in, or we love festivals. And our first group sex experience was at Burning Man, actually.
Oh, amazing. Okay, I'm going to have to bring you back on later to talk about that.
There's so much. But we wound up there, and I wound up on the spanking bench, and in this environment that was very educational and also encouraging play. I went onto the bench and he was asking how to flog better, because he had some idea, but still some hesitation. And so we had the dominatrix who we worked with, her partner had flogger in one hand, Jordan had a flogger in the other hand, and my butt was just out in the open and very exposed. And he was teaching him technique.
This is at your workshop?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
At this particular one, they're not all like this.
Okay.
This is actually one of the only ones that we've done like this. Ooh. And so then Kimmy, who's the dominatrix, our friend that came in, and she came up to me and she whispered in my ear, "Can I play?" And I was like, oh gosh, because I'm like face down. And so then she teaches spanking techniques, which I'm familiar with and I teach too, but it's a little bit different when I'm the one that's I want to be spanked by my partner, but I'm trying not to be in a teacher role. And it's just a lot to work through. And we're really great at moving through it now. But so then they're like beating my butt like a bongo, and every now and then she's asking me to say a number. Okay. So from 1 to 10, the sweet spot for me is like 6, 7, right? 10 is play stops. It's too much. The goal is not to hurt. Okay. The goal is to
So you're not
entice.
really, you're not beating. Yeah.
Yeah. The goal is to have fun and to have a cadence and a rhythm, and they get started between the flogging before and then the patting and the rhythm and the rhythm and the rhythm. And then every now and then.
So it sounds like a drum circle.
Right. So 4, 4, 4, 4, 4, let's say on the spectrum. And then every now and then a 7, a well-placed 7.
Okay.
And then pet me on the back, tell me I'm doing great, pet my hair. What happens in a person's nervous system on the edge? Anticipation, adrenaline, because there's risk. I don't know what's going to happen. What winds up happening as well is turn on. And so it's very meditative. It can be very meditative. So people have these experiences with these tools that look like they're meant to hurt people. Right. But what they wind up, after they use them effectively, they leave grounded. Their nervous systems fully discharge, anxiety released from their body. If you are, because that's the point in meditation, right? Is to try to get out of your head and come to presence.
Absolutely.
You can't think about the laundry or the soccer game or the whatever when you don't know when the next 7 or 8 are going to be landing on your butt. The only thing that you can be present with is the right here and right now and the sensations that are present. So if you extrapolate that idea across lots of different tools and dynamics with DS, then sex isn't happening while like spanking is happening, right? I was clothed when that was going on.
But you're still having this sensual experience.
Right. But when I came off of the bench and I turn around and Jordan is there with his arms outstretched and he embraces me and I melt into him and he knows that he's delivered something to me that only I have entrusted him to be able to give to me, plus maybe a professional every now and then.
Of course.
It's from there then our regular sex, because that's what it looks like, then our regular sex is very deeply connected. So it's more like, what are the ways that we can leverage all these fun tools or toys, because we're adults and these are our toys.
The toys.
How do we leverage those to make it to where the sex afterwards is deep and connective and expansive?
Oh, wow.
Right? So it's just the method of how we get to the sex.
Right.
Some people use tantra, where they sit cross-legged over each other and they stare into each other's eyes for 20 minutes. It's hard to think about anything else as well when you're staring into the soul of the person across from you, left eye to left eye, breathing together. Yeah. It's all of these methods to get out of our heads so we can be in our bodies to experience deep connection and pleasure.
Yeah, deep connection and pleasure with that person.
With your person.
And not with the lights off, not with your clothes on, not on like a random Tuesday night. I mean, it could be on a random Tuesday night.
Maybe.
I mean, our timings are now basically blocked off for Thursdays. But I feel like in that container is when we can expand and explore.
Yeah. So we another tool that we don't, I don't know how much time we have left, but another tool that maybe we won't get that far into, but is available when you look at the won't list, is the relationship board meeting that helps you plan.
Oh,
it just helps you plan what type of sex and where is it going to go.
Oh, I love that.
Because sometimes you just need like a quick one. And sometimes you want, it's like, the river bank so you can flow. You put the bumpers on and then you figure it out.
And then you play.
So it's like, okay, on Thursdays at 6 or whenever, when the kids go to bed and you've got this window, you can choose for it not to be go through the motions. You can go, okay, so we have the structure of the time. What creative thing do we want to do with this time? And sometimes it's going to be accessible and sometimes it won't be, like that creativity. Sometimes it just feels like another thing to do.
Yeah. And that was the one thing I was so excited about bringing you on, is because like this year, Ajit and I, we decided like Thursdays, whether it happens twice a month or 3 times a month, in the season of life that we're in, or every week, right? But each of us are going to take turns to plan and to, whether it's a sensual date, whether it's, walking into a bathtub of like all candles, setting up the tone and the mood, whether it's going to be, sensually dancing with each other to kind of get into that like mood of erotica, or bringing something like this. We have a white one and it's not so like heavy, but utilizing, the play and just the sparking that surprise. I think there's that element, like you said, of anticipation.
For sure.
Woman, we can continue all day, and oh my gosh, I know you have to go, and I feel like we should bring you back for round 2 because there's just so much more to unpack. So I want to get into a segment that I call This Might Get a Little Ugly or Brave.
Great.
So describe your magic moment that sucked.
The magic moment that sucked. I was in Greece and just recently had gone through an ovarian cyst removal surgery that was spurred on by IUD, my IUD at the time.
Wow.
Had that inserted, kind of felt somewhat pressured to get an IUD placed or to get on birth control at that time. And because I was in a relationship and we were in technically a sexless relationship. So that's the definition of sexless, is less than 12 times or less than 11 times in a year. So less than once a month.
Yeah, I was in one of those. Yeah.
Yeah. So we were, and again, this is the relationship that I learned all the things that I will never stand for again. It also led me to have my heart very closed off for a while and then eventually crack it all wide open, which led me to Jordan. But
look at that.
So in Greece, I just had this surgery. I was with this team. We'd just done a brand new takeout for this ship. I was still healing, and I'm in this relationship with this person that I just know I just keep staying for the sake of staying, to put up the facade, this fairy tale of this gallivanting, perfect fairy tale relationship.
Cruise ship, yeah.
And I just said enough. There was drinking involved, and we had this exchange, and it was maybe, the exchange where I'm fucking done. I really mean it. I'm done. And we were in Greece for the day, and then I got back onto the ship, and I called the fleet manager and was like, I have to move. I have to go somewhere else. And it was a leap into the unknown to start traveling and doing that position by myself. And it was the thing that then eventually led me to completely lose myself, that led me to build myself back up in a way that I'd never done before. So it sucked. Really, really sucked, because we had so much of our life intertwined for convenience, for travel. Yeah. Him being from a different country. Yeah. And so to just go, I have to leave, and lost everything. There was a lot of money that was owed to me for the work that I'd done. I just let it all go. Yeah. Left with, there was money promised to me, and I had so it was a big, left with all the debt. It was a relationship that ended, and because the debt was in my name because of the countries we were from, I left with the debt, he left with the money. Nothing got sent back to me that was promised, and I just had to be okay. Because choosing me was worth way more than any of that other stuff. And so I'm so grateful to him in that relationship, because of the beauty that I have around me now.
And look at what you've been able to create and cultivate.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
magical.
Yeah.
Magical. Okay, so what does it mean to be brave?
To me, I think the moments when I feel really brave, and I think about, okay, so yesterday, I'm on like the third step in our house, like to the bottom, and Jordan's across from me, and we're like stuck on the land, like stuck on the stairs in a bit of a process of like, you know, I'm seeing a thing and I'm perceiving it one way and I'm kind of projecting it onto him. And it's this underlying thing that we're probably going to be working on in our relationship for a while is trust. And it's not just, it's not, I trust you not to go with other women. That's almost never a conversation for us. It's just trusting him to stay and trusting him to make decisions that are the best for us. And so it's more like life stuff and just trusting that he's got us. And it's hard for me because I didn't see that growing up.
Right.
And sitting in that conversation, knowing that my personality pattern, my energy gets big and I'm fiery, and his is kind of collapses and merges, like collapse and goes within. And so I get big, he goes, you know, but we both decided to stay very present, and my energy was very high. And I was in the conversation trying to pull myself out for a meta perspective and apologizing and reframing and staying. And I sometimes I get into this place where I start tears start to fall.
Yeah.
And I am in it and I don't leave. And I stay there with my person, and I am willing to admit fault and to see patterns and to acknowledge when something, you know, I'm reminded of a traumatic thing that happened from, you know, a different time in my life. And those are the times that I feel the most brave, is when I am in the most discomfort, especially emotionally, with a person that I care about, and I don't abandon self or the other.
Ooh, yes. Yes. To more of that. And my final question for you as we wrap up this very juicy and sexy conversation, what word describes this moment and season of your life right now?
Devotion. Devotion. So as newly married, as newlyweds.
Congratulations.
Yeah. It's a lot of walk my talk. I've created an environment for myself that is a giant structure of mirrors. So I'm working with clients and it's the same stuff that I'm working on. And there's those moments where I'm giving an exercise where I go, I could use this exercise.
Right. We teach what we have to learn ourselves, right?
So
as the saying goes.
Other than, you know, figuring out what it means to be a devoted wife and also a business owner, and the person that led the thing that makes all the money for our whole family, that even he has now left what he was doing before to work with me.
Wow.
And
so
so
you've grown immensely, so big. You've gotten so big.
Thank you.
It's incredible. Love to see that.
And it's beautiful that we can make that, and thank you. And I really believe in the work that we do, you know, normalizing all of this stuff and making
normalizing sex.
Yeah.
Saving relationships and marriages and making it more fun and playful and
absolutely
sexy.
But I'm curious, you know, like, what does it mean to be a devoted? I can have all these compartments and parts of myself and me, and devoted as a wife and a future mother, which is the other thing, is devotion. I've never taken care of myself the way that I have just already started 2022 off, taking care of myself. So devotion to my body and myself, devotion to my marriage, and then also devotion to my craft and growing.
Wow. Where can we learn more about everything you shared today?
Really, Instagram's the hotspot. If you find me on Instagram, then you'll see everything else. The link that's in my bio is often filled with resources and fun things. And
yeah, you're so good about sharing everything. So
yeah, I try. I also forget that I have a podcast too. And that's also linked there. And so these conversations that like I've just had with you, you know, some of the ones that I mentioned about Jordan and other times in my life, Jordan and I regularly podcast about what we're doing in real time and how we're doing it.
So good.
Yeah.
So good. See you next time at the Brave Table.